Federal cases against Exotica head shops are coming to a close, but one man continues to live with the stain and stigma every day.
He was on probation when he was hired to work at Exotica, but it landed him back in bars, and get this, his parole officer approved it. Senior reporter Jake Wazakowski has this story you'll see only on 3.
Not only do I owe it to myself, I owe it to my family, and I also owe it to society. You know, to show that, hey, I made a mistake, I corrected my actions, and I moved on.
38-year-old David Roberts thought he was moving past the bad choices he made in his life, but he continues to live it every day. In June 2011, Roberts was paroled after spending 5 years in prison for burglary. Part of the parole obligation is to secure employment, something not easy for a convicted felon. Roberts met John Ways, who hired him to work at the Exotica on 108th and Q Street. But first, Roberts needed his parole officer's approval.
He said, "What will you be selling?" And I said, "Well, clothes, incense, jewelry, adult novelty items." And I said, "Pipes?" And he said, "Oh, bongs and stuff?" And I said, "Yes, sir."
Roberts says the parole officer allowed him to work there because he didn't have drug violations and as long as Roberts promised to quit if he had the urge to use.
I said, "I have no desire to use drugs." I then began working for the company.
For about a year, Roberts put in long hours at Exotica, selling incense, which was later alleged to be K2 or synthetic marijuana. They also sold water pipes and other items. Exotica employees went by a rule book. If any customer said marijuana or drug words, they weren't allowed to purchase anything. Roberts says his probation officer, Mike Nito, came by once a month to check on him.
He would look around the store and he had no problem with me working there or any of the products that the store had sold.
In the summer of 2012, the officer told Roberts to quit because he noticed the store sold synthetic urine.
I then quit because he holds my freedom, and I obtained new employment.
A few months later, federal authorities raided Exotica stores in Omaha, Council Bluffs, Sioux City, and Lincoln, alleging a multi-million-dollar operation to sell synthetic drugs and drug paraphernalia between 2010 and December 2012. Roberts was among 11 people indicted and was taken into federal custody. Did you feel like you were doing anything illegal while working there?
Actually, no, and the reason why is because my parole officer had given me permission to work there. And if he would have never gave me permission to work there, I would have never worked there.
Roberts says the same parole officer busted him on a parole violation days later. KMTV has obtained copies of his pay stubs from the parole office showing he worked for Nicosi Inc., the parent company of the Exotica stores, which was named in the federal indictment.
I'm feeling that, he set me up for a failure.
Roberts and most of the other defendants pleaded guilty to 1 count of drug paraphernalia. Most, including Roberts, were given credit for time served or probation. John Ways Jr., the main person, was found guilty on all counts of money laundering, selling synthetic drugs, and drug paraphernalia. Ways is awaiting sentencing behind bars. Roberts was sentenced in April, but is still in state custody at Community Corrections Omaha on the probation violation. He's bringing a story forward, hoping others aren't punished for trying to get their lives back on track. Roberts, again, has a good job on work release and looks forward to spending time with his family soon, to be the father and son he should have been all along.
Until my release date, I'm going to continue to move forward, and hopefully, I don't end up back in a situation like this.
I did talk to the Nebraska Parole Administration. They tell me that when the administration learned that Mr. Roberts had been working at Exotica, they told everyone that no parolee should be working at Exotica or places of that nature. They also told me that no personnel changes have been made because of this situation and that they couldn't elaborate further on Mr. Roberts' case. Now, his parole date is coming up in December. Jake Wazakowski, KMTV Action 3 News.